Good evening and welcome to the Dollar Dogs and Beer podcast. This is episode number 172, the 2026 ALNL East preview. I'm your host, Andrew. Joining me tonight, we've got Joe, and Todd is back, one of our common guests for this show. Jim was supposed to join us. He ended up being unavailable. Jason is trying to get on with these storms. His Wi-Fi is, as regular watchers of the show know, his Wi-Fi is not always the greatest in good weather, and in stormy weather, it can be all over the place. So if Jason's able to get on, he will. He did send us thoughts, so I will, as usual, read them as we go. Todd, welcome back, man.
Hey, it's good to be back.
And Joe, how you holding up with St. Patty's?
I don't know if I came on at all last year.
No, you weren't, because I was going through the previews. I was like, wait a second, I don't have Todd's previews.
Yeah, I'm good, man.
No, I think your Wi-Fi went out. I don't know who's supposed to be talking right now.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll try to be more clear when we go through, since the storms are in the area, probably affecting everybody. So, all right. So Joe, we'll start off with you. What are you drinking tonight?
Well, you mentioned it's St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, so I'm rocking the Jameson.
Excellent choice. Excellent choice. Todd, what do you have for drink tonight?
I need to restock. So right now I just have a Dr. Pepper, but I will be having some Guinnesses tomorrow.
Since it's St. Patty's tomorrow, I'm going with the extra stout. My personal favorite. Nice and bitter. Just like my feelings towards the NL East results at the end of last year. No, it's as Joe could tell you, Todd. Right. It's
we don't need Jason on the show.
No. We're all right. As Joe could tell you, though, Todd, I'll drink Guinness all year round, even when it's 105 in the middle of the summer.
100%. I do it.
All right, so we're gonna roll it in. We'll start with the AL East tonight, of course, because the NL is by far the superior division and always will be. Although maybe not this year, the AL East is stacked. All right, so fifth place last year, really a surprise. The Orioles completely fell off the wagon, going 75 and 87. We were all very high on them. I was the closest at 87. Poor Jim had his Orioles at 90 wins last year. That ended up not happening. The Orioles, a lot of injuries last year. They went very aggressive this offseason. They are pushing win now with that young core that they have. Big push on offense. They have a really solid pitching staff now. The big trade, they got Taylor Ward from the Angels for Grayson Rodriguez. We mentioned it on the show a couple weeks ago when we did the West. I love this trade much more for the Orioles than the Angels. I think Rodriguez is going to continue what happened in Baltimore, where when he pitches, he's very good, but he's often hurt. And I think that's going to burn the Angels. Lots of free agent moves. Pete Alonso moved from the Mets down to the Orioles. Was not upset to see Alonso leave the division. They snitched Chris Bassett from the Blue Jays, 1 year, $18.5 million. Also grabbed Shane Baz, Ryan Helsley, and Zach Eflin re-signed as well. So, Joe, I'll let you lead off. What are your thoughts tonight with the Orioles?
Yeah, I mean, I think that certainly an improvement. They plugged some holes where they needed to allow some of that younger talent that's been off and on hurt and off and on slumping to have the grace to kind of develop a little bit. So I think that was a good thing. Getting Alonso and Ward, I think, are huge pickups for them. So I definitely think they're going to improve. I don't think anybody could have anticipated the offensive struggles that they had at the beginning of the year. It just, they just completely struggled out of the gate and really couldn't recover. So I don't anticipate that happening a second time. So I think they're going to get at least 8 wins back. So I'll put them at 83.
83. Okay. I like that. Jason's prediction for the Orioles is 87. I forgot to give you guys mine. I'm going to give them 10 back. I'm going to go 85. Todd, what's your thoughts on the Orioles?
They got a lot scarier. I mean, there's no two ways around it. Obviously, a lot of the Orioles fans I'm around are just they love Pete Alonso already. I, as someone he's been on the Mets for 7 years, I completely understand why. He gives you Chris Davis power without the Chris Davis average. And Chris Bassett, who was a Met also in 2022, he is an innings eater, and he will just go out there and give you start after start after start. One of the most reliable pitchers in the game, even though he's in his mid-30s, I believe, maybe his late 30s. I'm not sure. The Shane Baz trade was pretty wild because of what the Orioles gave up, but it did fill a big need. So we'll see what happens from here and see who ends up being the beneficiary of that. And as sad as I was to see Pete Alonso go, I am not sad to see Ryan Helsley go because he was an absolute unmitigated disaster with the Mets. And Zach Eflin is back with the Orioles. I think that they've with the Taylor Ward trade as well. I mean, they filled so many holes that made them fall off the face of the earth last year. So I'm going to go feisty. I'm going to say 91.
91. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I'm going to preface this entire AL East by saying, and Jason said this in his thoughts too, I could see any one of these 5 teams winning it this year.
Yeah,
maybe not the Rays, but this is a stacked division, as we'll get to. Speaking of the Rays, they were 4th place last year at 77 and 85. Jason missed it by 1. He had them at 76. Really good prediction there by Jason. So this was a very, very Rays offseason. Small moves, retooling, trading contracts that are getting close to keep the depth flush. So trade-wise, they traded away their all-star second baseman Brandon Lowe to get prospect Jacob Melton back in the outfield. They got Gavin Lux and a right-handed prospect Chris Clark for Josh Lowe to the Reds. So I'm really curious to see. Lux definitely doesn't have the power Lowe has, but he's a more consistent ball to bat hitter. Again, we just mentioned Shane Baz was traded away for prospects. They grabbed Justin Henry Malloy from the Tigers for cash. A high OBP guy, has struggled so far in MLB. Maybe a change of scenery will help. We'll have to see. Outfielder Ryan Velade from the Reds for cash, another low-risk depth move. And they sent Joey Gerber up to the Mets for cash. Big free agent move. They got Cedric Mullins in free agency. If he stays healthy, that is a huge defensive boost to their outfield. Also some good speed. Jake Fraley they grabbed. They got Steven Matz. Should be a good 4-5 option or a long reliever option, as well as Nick Martinez. They did decline the option on closer Pete Fairbanks. So, this Rays team, I think, will be a little bit improved. I think they're the one. Any team could win. This is the team I feel the least confident about having the ability to win the East this year because the rest of the teams being so stacked. But I do think they're going to hit 80 this year, so that's where I'm going to put them at 80. And Jason had the Rays at I thought he said 82. Nope, 81. I was close. So Jason said 81. Todd, what do you think?
Yeah, like you said, the Rays are doing exactly what the Rays do every offseason. No big flashy moves or anything like that. Just filling up holes and putting out a competitive team out there. And it's something that they're mysteriously really good at doing. They're kind of like they're a team that you don't know how they do it, but they're always competitive. At least they're either they go from competitive to good, and no one really understands why and how. But I do like some of the signings they made. A couple of former Mets, of course, in the free agent signings. Steven Matz, who was part of the Mets team for his first 5 years, and has been kind of lower part of the rotation with Cardinals. He was with the Red Sox, I believe, last year. So the Blue Jays. Trivia gave up Mickey's 500th home run. And Cedric Mullins, who was another bust for the Mets. It's becoming a theme. So, like you said, the Rays are probably a team that are they're not going to just roll over, but this is a really, really stacked division. If some teams in the East underperform, you could see them potentially go for a wild card spot, but this division is really difficult, and I'm not going to be as high on them as I was for the Orioles. I'm going to say 78.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm not overall impressed. Like, I know that they're always competitive, and I see that point, with them as an organization. They're just similar to what we say about the Cardinals last week. There's just a way about them as an organization where they just always find a way to do something. I'm just not as high on them as I wish I was. I feel like Fairbanks not having him is a big difference maker. Losing Baz in a trade, to me, that's not an improvement. So I mean, I'm going to eat my words probably next year, but I'm going to go 72.
72. Okay.
Yeah.
And I will say this, I'm always terrified when I see Atlanta has traded with Tampa Bay. I'm always terrified because they come on the right end of trades way more often than not, especially where prospects are concerned. So I'm okay very, 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 very seldomly being trade partners with them. All right, moving on. We had the Red Sox third place last year in the AL East. They were the wild card 2 with a record of 89 and 73. They were eliminated by the Yankees in what was actually a pretty exciting wild card series, 2-1. I had the closest guess last year at 90. I missed it by 1. It's about time I had a good one of those. The Red Sox, wheeling and dealing, man. Lots of depth and balance trades. They didn't go for the big bat, but that rotation is now one of the best in the division. Honestly, probably top 5, top 10 in baseball now. They grabbed Sonny Gray from the Cardinals for prospects. They got Johan Oviedo from the Pirates. They grabbed Caleb Durbin and Andrew Monasterio, a pair of infielders, along with Anthony Siegler from the Brewers for Kyle Harrison, Shane Drohan, David Hamilton. The big signing, they grabbed Ranger Suarez, 5 years, $130 million off the free agency. Again, not upset to see him leave the NL East, especially not in the playoffs. They also grabbed Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Danny Colombe for the bullpen, and Brendan Rodgers on a minor league deal. This is honestly it. They got the big arm with Suarez. They didn't do a ton with the bats. They didn't really need to do a ton with the bats. I like what they did. This is a team that's definitely going to be a little improved. I'm not going to make a big jump on the win total because this division is so stacked top to bottom. So I'm just going to say where I had them at last year. I'm going to have them at 90 wins. Probably second, third. I don't think they're going to break through to the top of the division this year, but that's still a ridiculously solid team that they have. And Jason had them at 85. He had them in fourth at 85, which is nuts because of how stacked this division is going to be. Joe, how about you lead it off here? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I do think that they probably could have done one other offensive move. I don't know that it's fair to say they didn't need to do a ton when they did lose Alex Bregman. But I do think that the Durbin pickup in that trade with Milwaukee is a huge pickup for them. Milwaukee fans are gonna miss him terribly. So from everything I've read and heard inside the Central, there's a lot to like about the Red Sox development this year. So I'm going to put them at 95 wins.
95. Wow. Okay. Yeah, definitely higher than I had. Todd, what do you think?
Well, going into last year, I was very low on the Red Sox. I was down on them, honestly, because I thought they were just going to be a mediocre team. I certainly didn't have them in the 90 range. I was close to where Jim was with 83. I thought they were going to be a 500 team. Obviously, the big move they made last year with Garrett Crochet, that really worked out for them. I thought he was going to be a glass cannon, like ready to break at any certain point, because I thought that arm would just pop. But no, it didn't. He was healthy all year, and for wherever Tarek Skubal could have won the Cy Young. A lot of the moves that they made, obviously, really bolstered their starting rotation. Sonny Gray was quite an underrated pickup, honestly. I don't think it got a lot of the attention it really deserved, because he is still a really, really solid pitcher. And Oviedo and Ranger Suarez, who I'm not sure if it was an overpay, but I don't think the Red Sox really care. That's one of the best lefties in the game. There's certainly, my feelings of them are obviously a lot higher now than they were last year. I'll have them at 88 this year.
88. All right. Was Ranger an overpay? Yes, but it's free agency. That's what's going to happen.
Starting pitchers are overpriced beyond belief now.
Every time. Interestingly, too, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. That was I was a little surprised. I was a little surprised to see him bounce around again. I think the Red Sox, that's going to be a good place for him to be, especially because in December, I forgot to put this on the sheet. They traded Vaughn Grissom off to the Angels for a minor leaguer, Isaiah Jackson. And Vaughn Grissom, if you'll remember, was the centerpiece in the Chris Sale trade to Atlanta. So that trade still continues to bite the Red Sox in the ass, and I'm okay with it. All right, let me mute Todd's mic. He's got some background stuff. I'll unmute you then when I'm ready for you, Todd. All right, so we'll move it on now. Second place last year, the New York Yankees, 94-68. They were second via the tiebreaker. They lost that to the Blue Jays. As Joe and I pointed out at the first of our playoff preview episodes last year, that Blue Jays holding the tiebreaker the whole way across was going to hold them through to the end, and we were 100% right on that one. Go us. All right, so Jim was the closest last year at 97. I was close to at 90, but Jim beat me by a game there. I won't talk about Joe saying they would miss the playoffs or Jason having them at 86 and also missing the playoffs. By the way, Boone's ejections last year were a total of 6. So if you took the under last year, I forgot to record who had over and who had under. So if you took the under, you won. Congratulations. I'm going to set the over-under for Aaron Boone ejections this year at 6.5. The Yankees were dirt quiet. They grabbed Ryan Weathers from the Marlins, and that was it. Otherwise, it was depth moves. No splashy moves, which is extremely un-Yankee-like. And I know they've got a great core around Aaron Judge and all of that, but the rest of the division got significantly better, and the Yankees did not. So I'm going to dial back to – I'm going to put them down to 89. I still like the team. I just think that I just think given that it's going to be I'm just not feeling another 94-95 win campaign out of them. Jason had them at 91, and I am going to put Aaron Boone – I'm going to take the under 6.5. He's been at 6 the last 2 years. I think he's probably going to stay around there again. I don't think we're going to see another 9 ejection outburst, although with Aaron Boone, anything and everything is always possible. All right, Todd, you're unmuted. What do you think? What are you thinking about the Yankees?
Yeah, it was a really strange one, because every year I would hear about Yankees sign this, Yankees sign that, Yankees sign this. But I mean, as Hal Steinbrenner has proven over the last few years, he's not his father, and he isn't just going to go get anybody just because he can. They do have some, compared to previous years, they've had enough. They've had a lot of commitments. I mean, this is Max Fried's second year there, and that is so far that's been paying off. You have Aaron Judge for 9 years or 6 more years, something like that. I mean, they did re-sign Paul Goldschmidt. They did re-sign Cody Bellinger. So, I mean, that's kind of the biggest move they made outside of the trading for Ryan Weathers. So what you're going to see is obviously pretty much the same team that went out there. If Stanton stays healthy, which he won't, they're going to be maybe the best lineup in the division. Certainly the scariest up top. So I had them at 90 wins last year, and since they really haven't changed, I'm going to say 90 again.
Fair enough. Aaron Boone, over under 6.5 ejections.
I'm going to go over.
Over? All right.
Yeah.
All right. Joe, what do you think?
I'm going to go with, I feel like, I'm going to say 87 wins. I just feel like because the rest of the division got so much better, it's going to balance out in some way. So I'm going to go with 87 wins for the Yankees this year. And because of that, I'm taking the over on Boone. And I think Boone gets let go.
Especially if the end results end up being the same, will not be slightly surprised if they finally say enough is enough. Because where's the ring? I mean, that is what Yankees ownership, it doesn't matter who the owner is. That's what they care about. Where are the damn rings? And
where was the urgency against Toronto? They were completely overmatched.
Oh my God, that was a hilarious beat down the Blue Jays put on.
Oh my goodness.
The Yankees.
Yeah, I just don't have a whole lot of hope in that, and I feel like Boone has lucked into extra years the last few years just because of making the playoffs, and at some point making the playoffs isn't enough.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. I would not be shocked short of a World's. If they make the World Series and lose it again, I think he stays. If they make the AL pennant and lose, he probably stays. But if it's anything below the pennant, he's gone. As soon as Jason gets back to me on the over-under for Boone, I will let you all know. And we will move it along to the Blue Jays, who had a massive plus 20 win shift between 24 to 25, jumping up to 94 and 68. First in the East, eliminated in the World Series by the Dodgers. And that was a fantastic 7-game series. I was really hoping the Blue Jays were going to pull it off. And then when Yamamoto was coming, I was like, yeah, this is it.
They tried even though in the last inning, though.
Yeah, I know, right? The Blue Jays, they know they're in their window. They were aggressive, and I like what they did. Anyway, predictions quick. None of us thought that they were going to make the jump, and Jim was the closest at 85. So great call by Jim there. In the trades, they grabbed Jesus Sanchez from the Astros for Joey Lopofito. They got Kazuma Akamoto, 4 years, $60 million. He was from Japan, the Yomiuri Giants. I really like that move, actually. He's a good power bat. Again, the question is always, will the power transfer from the NBP to MLB? Probably not at the level it was, but it's still a good bat, and he plays a good defensive third base, which will be an asset. Dylan Cease, man, 7 years, $210 million, talking about overpaying for starting pitching. But you know what? With where the Blue Jays were, you had to. You signed Vlad long-term last year and said, we're going to build it with you. And they had to keep doing it. And they absolutely did with that. I like them getting Tyler Rogers, 3 years, 37. Even Max Scherzer for one more swan song year, you're probably not going to get a lot, but you know what? Having Mad Max at the back end of your starting rotation, even as a 40-plus-year-old, he's still got a little bit left in the tank, and you could find a worse innings eater than Max Scherzer. I will live and die on that hill. I think the Blue Jays are going to gain about 2 wins. I'm going to put it just, I would normally say 3 to 4, but because the rest of the division, stayed strong, I'm going to go to 96. They are still going to be first in the division. Honestly, would not be surprised if they are I would not at all be surprised if, they are once again pennant World Series. Jason has the Blue Jays again, first place at 94 again. And he also said over on the Aaron Boone 6.5 ejections. All right, Joe, what are you thinking, bud?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for the Blue Jays to do much better than they did last year, obviously during the season. But I do think that the additions they made showed that they're still hungry and going to go after it again. And I think, I think even if the full power from Akamoto doesn't transfer, I think enough of it's going to transfer that they're not going to miss Bichette as much as I thought they would. So I think that they kind of did a 1-for-1 there in a lot of ways. I think, how much of a big fan I am of Cease. I mean, even if he does just eat innings and doesn't get wins, I think he's going to get more run support in Toronto than he did in San Diego last year, and then he did in the White Sox uniform for all those years too.
Without a doubt.
So, given a fresh start for him, I think that's going to, add to this win total a little bit. I'm going to go 98.
98. Ooh, going big. I like it. What do you think, Todd?
Yeah, I mean, I agree that the Blue Jays is still, I think, the overall best shot at winning the division because they didn't lose very much outside of Bichette. They made up for that with Akamoto. They lost Chris Bassett, but they more than made up for it with Dylan Cease. That's being very light in saying that. Tyler Rogers is a very good signing. I mean, that's a lot of money for a setup guy or a seventh inning guy, but he's the best in the business. And he's going to obviously a knuckle dragger of a pitcher in the best way possible. He is just, and he's a guy that can just go every day, basically. You might see him get like 80, 90 games this season. And, Max Scherzer, I think the dude's nuts. He could probably still find something in like at the bottom of the jar to, throw another no-hitter or something like that. I don't know. But if not, he's going to be a really good cheerleader and just a huge ball of energy in the corner of that dugout. And I agree that the Blue Jays are probably the best team in the division. Overall, I'm gonna dock to, but I still think 93.
93, yeah, and that might be enough, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's roll it into by far the best division in baseball, the NL East.
Yes,
Central's close, Joe. Central's close.
That's okay.
All right.
Certainly a lot more toxic than the NL Central.
Dude, different kind of toxic. You have to listen to the combined trauma of listening to Cubs and Cardinals fans talk. It's
that's
pull up last week's episode. It's a special kind of special.
Yeah.
All right. So in the basement of the East last year was the Washington Nationals, who I do not think will be in the basement this year. They were 66 and 96. We all thought they were ready to maybe make a jump last year. Jason was the closest at 77, so only 11 off there. But I think this is a team that the slow rebuild's going to continue. It's a lot of affordable vets, but that the young guys are getting the chance to develop, and I really think we're getting close to seeing the Nationals becoming more of a pest and maybe not quite ready for wild card this year, but they're definitely going to be significantly better than last year because they're also not the worst team in the East by any stretch of the imagination. Jason has them at 75 wins. He says the team is young and scrappy and will be a nuisance to all of the top teams in the league. Completely agree with that. I think, what did I say last year? I said 80 last year. You know what? I'm going to say 80 again. I think I'm a little high, to be honest. I think 78, 79 is probably closer, but the Nationals, they're annoying, they're scrappy, and they're close. They're close to pushing through. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, it kind of feels like they are just they're right on the cusp of it, and I feel like this is going to be one of those years where they do have a big swing. I'm gonna go. You know what? I'll go 78, and it'll be good for. You know what? No, I'm gonna go 80, and it'll be good for third in the division.
80 and third. All right. Wow. Trashing on the Braves that hard. Okay. I see.
How do you know he's talking about the Braves?
How do you know I'm talking about the Braves? Could be the Mets. Could be the Phillies.
Dude, I really wish it would be the Mets and the Phillies. It won't be. Because I already have questions, but we'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
Todd, what do you think?
Everything you said about the Nationals this year you could have said about them last year. Like they're continuing their rebuild and they're getting better and better. They're going to be scrappy, and they just sucked last year. There's really no two ways around it. I mean, a lot of it was due to especially their bullpen, which was about as unreliable as anything that I've seen in a long time. Their starting rotation took a step back. I mean, Mackenzie Gore was supposed to be like the big anchor, and he was very up and down. Same with Jake Irvin. And the signing of Zach Littell, we'll see if that adds anything to it. But again, that's just, another kind of below the radar kind of veteran signing. So it's really just a matter of, are they going to make a step forward like they were supposed to do last year, as opposed to taking a step back? And for me, it's really a coin flip. They won't be as bad as last year, but I still have them in fourth in the division. I'm going to say 75.
75. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I do. Yeah. All right. So speaking of fourth in the division last year, the great Atlanta Braves, who got bitten by the injury bug about as badly as any team I have ever seen. Holy hell. Went 76 and 86 last year. Joe, you were the closest at 90. That's how bad an awful opening schedule and continuous injury, but like that's how bad things fell. I mean, minus 28 last year from the year before. The Braves, a lot of retool. They were more aggressive than you typically see them in the offseason, which I was very happy with. The big trade was getting Mauricio Dubon from the Astros for Nick Allen. Love that move. Dubon's not as good of a defender as Allen is, but Dubon's a good solid, like he's the kind of guy who's going to be in contention for the utility Golden Glove just about every year because he is so good defensively at all of the infield spots. Haesung Kim, they got back 1 year, $20 million. Yastrzemski 2 years, $23 million, and the big move, getting Robert Suarez away from the Padres, 3 years, $45. They re-signed Raisel Iglesias. Iglesias was a tale of two halves last year. His first half was atrocious. His second half was one of the best second halves in baseball last year from the relieving standpoint. So I like the fact that they've got both Suarez and Iglesias. If Iglesias starts slow and has trouble, they can drop Iglesias down to the setup man and move Suarez up. And Suarez will be the closer starting next year because strongly feel like this will probably be Iglesias this last year, or if it's not his last year, it's probably going to be his last year with closing level stuff. Now, you can't talk about Atlanta without talking about the injury bug, of course. Waldrop's out for a couple months. He had his elbow cleaned out. Dylan Dodd, the freaking freak ACL accident that he had with that collision at first base, that you feel for a guy like that, because that one pissed me off. I watched the replay, and nothing malicious, nothing else. It is so freaking frustrating, though, to see that happen to a guy who was looking really good. The Dubon trade is huge now with Ha-Seong Kim out until the first half of May with the torn tendon. But Kim's, I think, is going to be fine when he gets back. Murphy is hurt until probably May. I forgot to mention Jonah Heim they also grabbed to back up the catching depth. I really like the Jonah Heim because he can also continue in a DH role once Murphy is back. So yeah, Joey wants Waldrop. Schwellenbach was the other one with the elbow inflammation who had some spurs cleaned out. So they've got Joe Jimenez. He'll be back at some point. Clean up on his knee in November. Smith Shawver will probably be back towards the end of this year or maybe next year. We'll see what they do about that. Depth's already going to be tested, but they've got they showed they've got the pitching depth last year. And unfortunately, does it mean Bryce Elder is going to unfortunately be with the major league club from the start of the year? Yes, unfortunately, it does mean that. Does that drive me nuts? That 100% drives me nuts. I would like to see Bryce Elder traded for 10 pounds of blackened catfish and a player to be named later, but that's not going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. He's just going to eat innings, and he'll occasionally surprise me with a really good start. That's my expectations of Bryce Elder, and you know what? For a 4-5 guy, that's okay. I am really pissed off at 13 straight games to start the year. I'm pissed off at any team that would have to start and play 13 straight to start. This is 2 years. Pro baseball has given Atlanta a very unkind starting schedule, although at least they don't have to go back to back with the Padres and Dodgers in the West Coast like we did last year. That was crap.
That was stupid.
Jason's thoughts here before I give my prediction. He has the Braves in third, 82 wins. Injury, can they finally avoid them? Already down Schwelly. Can those coming back get back to their old form? This team can be anywhere from 70 to 90. He is going in the middle. He also says, and I quote, "I fully expect Andrew to take the Braves to win the division." Jason, I would love to do that. I'm hedging my bets slightly. They're going to do better than 82 freaking wins, I'll tell you that. I'm going to have them at I think they're going to jump to 87 because I do trust in the guys that were hurt coming back doing better. I like the coaches that we stole from the Mets. I expect the team to be much smarter on the base paths, which is something Snicker got completely away from and went all in on the home run or bust strategy, which worked great in 21 and 22 and really fell off in 23 and 24. I think 87. I think it's going to be good for second in the NL East. Although I would not be surprised if whoever gets second does break the so. Joey, what do you got?
The one thing I'll say is I just don't know how to feel better about them outside of Dubon. They didn't really get markedly better. I mean, Suarez will be good, but I think when you have two closers, you have no closer. That's a problem for me. It's just my philosophy. Because you ran into that issue with Neris in every place he's been where he tried to close and couldn't do it. And, so I'm hoping, like, for your sake, I hope they figure that part out, like who's going to be where. But starting off the year kind of in that closer, maybe not, closer by committee kind of style, I'm not a huge fan of.
They did announce the depth chart is going to be Iglesias' closer and Suarez will be set up. So they know their roles. This won't be an undefined role. It's only going to switch if Iglesias has early struggles again.
Okay. Having the depth chart set is one thing. I think how Suarez adjusts to that in a high pressure situation as opposed to spring training where you're not necessarily thinking about, you're looking at some of that right now, but you're not looking at that most of spring training to figure out kind of what that is. Starting with having your depth in question already and having a 13-game stretch to start the year gives me a lot of pause. I feel like they could have gone out and gotten a starting pitcher or two, or a hit. I mean, they did get Jonah Hyman. I think that will pay dividends down the road. But it feels like there might have been one or two other guys they could have gotten to from an offensive standpoint. Maybe not a starter, but at least like some sort of role player that has, quality numbers. So I do think that they're going to hopefully have the shortstop situation solved, but I just don't think that they're extremely improved over last year. So I'm going to take them at – I'm going to keep them at – I'm going to keep them at 76.
Ooh, ouch. All right. That's fair. It's fair. It is. Todd, what do you think?
Well, I mean, you said it. The entire starting rotation was bitten by the injury bug last year for significant amounts of time. I mean, Sale was down, Schallenbach was down, Strider was down, and when he was up, he was terrible. It's everything that could go wrong did go wrong for them, and it's very rare that happens twice in a row. Yeah, they made the big moves, as you said. I mean, with Dubon and the Mike Yastrzemski for good outfield depth, who's had a good spring, if I can remember correctly.
Yes.
Robert Suarez to set up Iglesias and Ha-Sung Kim for quite a lot of money for a 1-year deal, but that's neither here nor there. But you really have to think that the Braves will be better just because the injury bug can't be as bad as it was. In effect, get healthy seasons from one, but 2 or 3 of those starters that were down last year, it's like getting a fresh arm in free agency. And as an aside, the 2 biggest losses I think the Mets had going to the Braves were Richard and Jeremy Hefner, who the Mets did Hefner dirty. Don't get me started on that. But I think the Braves will be better, even though they haven't really made any huge improvements on paper. I think that the product on the field is going to be better. And I see them moving up. There'll certainly be at least 500. I will say 86.
86. Yeah, I'll take that. So, and they have the depth. Like Caminiti's going into A-ball this year, their top overall pitcher. He was their first-round pick last year. I expect Caminiti to either get a spot start late this year or to be brought up next year. J.R. Ritchie's ready to go. He's at AAA. He might even float up as a 6th starter just for the first 13. Didier Fuentes is ready. He has looked really sharp in spring training this year. And I'm okay with overpaying Kim a little bit because they've got decent shortstop depth. It's just in the lower minors right now between Tate Southasense, and John Gill. Those John Gill in particular, he could come up this year if they need him to. I don't think they will. I think Dubon is going to be incredibly effective at keeping the infielders in general more healthy because he can float everywhere and give the regulars a chance to DH and just have a day to just hit the ball and not have to worry about being in the field. So I really like that Dubon trade. I know Dubon's going to be a regular starter for about the first month until Kim comes back, but Kim Kim is going to be the first really, really solid shortstop they've had since Dansby. Honestly, I know we had an All-Star the next year. We had one good year out of him. That's all I'm going to say. One good year, and thank God he was DFA'd last year. So, he who shall not be named. All right, let's talk about our third place team from last year, the Miami Marlins, who somehow went 79 and 83, good enough for third, which shows you how rough it was for the bottom half of the division last year. Closest was Jason at 60, as we all predicted that. And you know what? I'm feeling like last year's predictions are going to be pretty damn close to what happens to the Marlins this year, because this is a team that is all in on being bad and rebuilding, because this is a long-term rebuild with a reset. Jason literally has 2 words on his preview for the Marlins. They're bad. He has them dead last at 68. He didn't even like them enough to give them a nice 69 win total. That is how bad Jason thinks the Marlins are going to be. Joey Weimer was traded to the Giants for cash, and all they're doing is grabbing small free agent guys that they can flip to prospects. This is a team going nowhere fast and going to be significantly worse than last year. I said 59 last year. They're not going to be quite, well, they could be quite that bad, actually. The top half of the division will be better. But I think 59 is probably a little bit harsh. So I'm going to go, I think they're going to hit 100 losses. I'm going to go 62 and 100, dead last in the division. Joe, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Edward Cabrera trade obviously is a win for the Cubs on that front.
Oh, yeah.
But Cabrera was hurt a bunch last year, and they still had 79 wins. So I'm gonna go 75. I'm gonna be generous and go 75.
That feels incredibly generous. Todd, what are you thinking?
From a neutral standpoint, I mean, the Marlins are maybe the most fun team to watch. I mean, if you didn't have any rooting interest in them, in any team, the Marlins are like, oh, this is supposed to be a team that's going to challenge the White Sox for the worst record ever. And all of a sudden they're winning games they shouldn't be winning. They had that crazy, 13-12 win against the Yankees. That was, I watched that over and over again because it's just astounding.
Yeah.
And a lot of the young guys had some, I mean, Kyle Stowers put out his mind for a little bit, and he was the lone all-star selection for the Marlins. And I mean, they do have some pain in the ass hitters that are not big names, but you guys like, Xavier Edwards and Connor Norby and Otto Lopez. You have Brian De La Cruz isn't there anymore. But this is not a good team, but this is still a team that is going to give it everything they've got. And you saw that last year. Did they play over their head? Absolutely. But they were still a team that, I mean, Clayton McCullough, I think this was his first year as the manager. Could be argued he could have gotten manager of the year last year, honestly. I mean, they were in the wild card race until the last week of the season. I mean, if the Marlins got a wild card spot, he would have no doubt won manager of the year. I don't think there's any question. Obviously losing Edward Cabrera. They still have Sandy Alcantara, who knows what he's going to be giving you. They did get Chris Paddock from where was he last year? Was he still with the Twins, or I forget where he was?
He's the Twins, yeah.
Yeah. But he's now with the Marlins. Yeah, Braxton Garrett. Some names have been there for a while, but just haven't really blossomed. I do have them finishing in last place, but I still think they're not going to be like 68. I'm going to say I'm going to have them at 73.
73. Okay. Yeah. And I will say this, because no matter how bad they are going to steal wins from the Braves, the Phillies, and the Mets that they shouldn't, because they're the damn.
Mm-hmm. As a Cub fan, I can attest to the fact that they stole a bunch of games from us.
Yeah, that's right. I
Mhm.
forgot about that, dude.
That was
Right.
not fun. I mean, De La Cruz was a huge part of that, but still,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, you did mention Norby. Norby was excellent last year. Stowers was out of his mind, and I think having Owen Casey is going to help them a lot. They do
Mhm.
have Matt Mervis too from the Cubs, who I think in the right situation, such as Miami, can really have a flourishing year without the pressure of playing at Wrigley and playing in Rizzo's shadow and all that stuff. So
Mhm.
Definitely.
And they also picked Fairbanks. They picked him up, so he's going on the other side of Florida. And they also picked up
yeah,
Liam Hicks too. So just names you've heard of, but we'll see how they do down there.
I will say this: you were asking what they're going to get out of Sandy Alcantara. They're going to get prospects by the trade deadline. That's what they'll get out of it.
Well, they were trying to trade him last year. They couldn't find anybody.
Well, yeah, because he
well,
was awful last
Yeah.
year. He wasn't worth what the Marlins wanted, so they wanted to see another year off injury. And I think he will be better this year.
Yeah. He was
yeah,
good
I
in
think
the second half of the season, but
True.
the other thing I'll say about Alcantara is it just feels like because Cabrera was the same thing where it just kind of felt like he was going to go at the deadline and then didn't. Um, he and Bregman are the two moves that the Cubs made that you're like you were in position to make those moves last year and you didn't. So what changed? And so like I think they may have gotten Cabrera in the offseason for one less prospect or something like that.
Yeah.
But Casey was in the deal regardless. So I mean, um, yeah, he would have helped them down the stretch last year, but he'll be, him and his 92-mile-an-hour changeup will be a huge benefit in the north side.
That's
yeah, it would be anywhere.
92-mile-an-hour changeup. That should be outlawed. That's not a changeup. That's
Yeah.
a sinker.
Well, it's a changeup if you throw 104.
That's so stupid. All right. And last year, so next we have last year's September fall apart darlings, the Mets. Sorry, Todd.
You know,
83 and
also,
79.
if you hear background noise, we just got a giant gust. So
Oh, okay. Yeah, no worries. It's 45-mile-an-hour gusts aren't fun for anybody.
Yep.
Better than the 70 they were predicting. I will say that.
Yeah, that little burst felt like it though.
So the Mets last year, 83 and 79, second in the East. I was the closest at 91. Jason said 92. I do have to mention that for the record. The Mets, lots of movement in, lots of movement out. Out, as we mentioned earlier, Pete Alonso. The Trumpets have left New York. I'm going to tell you, I'm not upset about seeing Alonso and Diaz leave. Nimmo's gone. McNeil's gone. Bo Bichette is in. Freddie Peralta is in. Devin Williams is in. Although I'm going to be honest, dude, I'm not excited as some people were about Devin Williams. I know the Mets are not as pressure cooker as the Yankees, just on principle. But he was awful last year, so we'll have to see if the change of scenery does help. Because boy, the Yankees screwed up bad on that trade. What a pity. I'm gonna Todd, I'll let you dive deeper on this. Here's what Jason had to say. Jason has them at 91. Absolutely the most improved squad. Diaz loss can hurt the pen, but they made great additions, even if they were on the pricey end. I'm not looking as rosy at it as Jason is. It's hard to say with all the in and out exactly what to say about them. I did a look at war change from last year to this year, and it does seem like overall, with the bullpen overhaul, the Mets probably should be one of the better teams in the East this year. Losing your leader in Alonso, I don't know how that's going to affect the Mets. I'm going to say, I'm going to go 85. I'm going to go 85 in third place for the Mets. Todd, take it away, bud. What am I missing? Todd might have gotten cut by the storm. Joe, go ahead. We'll see if Todd can get back on in a second.
Yeah, what I'd say first is having a Mets fan in the family, I always ask for input on that. So for my father-in-law thought that there's a lot of questions. He was sorry to see some of the older guys go, but he thinks the thinking is we didn't get the job done with them, so let's just start over, clean on some, go in a new direction. So he's pretty satisfied with that and looking forward to the year. Um, I think when it comes to Alonso is the one that surprised me. Alonso and Nimmo surprised me the most
Mm-hmm.
of the two that left. Um, I, I do think that they have the pieces, especially with Soto moving to left. And having Beatty to play somewhere, Vientos can play third or first. Wherever it makes sense for him to play. I mean, Vientos would probably, I would assume, play first between him and Beatty, and maybe some other folks. I feel like Mauricio will get a chance to really perform for them too, or get a chance to at least play a little. I so I feel like they have from all of that, and from adding Peralta, which was a huge deal. Starting pitching was a huge problem for them, and that's a huge upgrade. Um, so to me, I I feel like I'm gonna go 90,
90. Okay.
and I think it's good for second probably.
So you're kind of thinking on the same line I am placement wise, I hear. Hey,
I
Todd,
back?
are you still? Yep, I think you're back now.
Okay, yeah, I was flickering a little bit. So,
Yeah, it's all right. My screen just hit here too. So, what do you think about your Mets?
Well, it's funny because 2025 was the absolute complete opposite of 2024. Where 2024, the first 2 months were bad, and then middle of June hit, and then it became the best team in baseball and rode it all the way to the NLCS. This year, 25, they started out as the best team in baseball. In the middle of June, they completely fell apart, and they missed the playoffs by a game, losing to the Marlins on the last day again, giving me PTSD. So the big thing that was mentioned by David Stearns, the GM, pretty much after the game was over, was saying that the biggest thing we need to do is adding to run prevention, because our defense was just not good. Like Pete Alonso, even though he was very good at picking balls out of the ground, he had the range of like someone with no arms. Like his range at first base was terrible. Third base, Mark Vientos was one of those disappointing players on the team last year. He had a 40 home run pace in 2024, but last year he just completely the bottom fell out. The starting rotation, which was a question going in last year, was incredibly good last year, and then because they couldn't go deep into games, the bullpen became tired, and everyone just there was no one reliable anymore in that pitching rotation or the bullpen anymore. So things just needed to change. And as far as the free agent losses go, Alonso bothered me only because he was the last one to go, and that was on the heels of Diaz leaving, which was the one I think was the biggest hurt for us. Edwin Diaz was the best closer, like had his second best season with the Mets last year, and that's only because 2022 existed. Diaz was back to elite form last year because he was completely healthy. I think 24 he was still nursing that knee that he tore up. Trading Brandon Nimmo, I didn't mind the trade. I was more surprised they did it. Nimmo was going to be into the fourth year of an 8-year deal with a no trade clause. So the fact that we don't have him on the books anymore is kind of good. And Nimmo's starting to decline, I think, overall. I mean, his power's been a lot better, but he's not as good of a fielder as he was like 3 or 4 years ago. His contact has gone down. His strikeouts have gone up. So we'll see what he does in Texas. I mean, I think he feels pretty comfortable there already. And Jeff McNeil, trading him for some prospect, I don't really care that much about that, but he was the last one to be gone from that core, and I thought that he would be the guy that would play everywhere, but that's not going to be the case. I think that role is going to be Brett Beatty's now, because we did get Bo Bichette, I was curious what he was going to be playing. When I heard the news that the Mets got him, I'm like, well, we have Beatty at third, we have Vientos at third. Why is Bichette going to be playing third? I mean, unless he wants to play second, but that's what they got Marcus Semien for. And then you have Lindor is not going to be moving from shortstop. So I liked it because of the bat and the offense. And then I found out that they stole him from the Phillies, which made it great. Absolutely amazing.
What a great reason.
So I love the trade. He signed a 3-year deal with an opt-out of after the first year, but I don't care. I'm getting a Bichette shirt to wear around Lancaster and just to piss them off.
Please do.
I will do that. That is what it is. We have our own JD Drew now. Just saying. As far as some of the other bats that we got, Marcus Semien in the Brandon Nimmo trade, basically just trading them for straight up. Semien is probably going to be batting 8th in the lineup because he's not going to have the same offensive season he had when he was with the White Sox and with the Blue Jays, and especially in 23 when he really blossomed with Texas and they won the World Series that year. But he's going to give you way better defense at second base. I mean, I think he won a Gold Glove last year. I think he did. And he's going to give you just really solid defense in the middle of the infield with Francisco Lindor. That's going to be a fun double play combination to watch. Jorge Polanco is another guy that they got. He's going to be playing first base. He has minimal experience there, but so far in spring he's looked pretty good there. He'll probably be batting cleanup. And we have Jorge Polanco. He had that big hit against the Tigers. I think it was, I forget the name. He was with I forget who it was, but he had the game winner against, and he had 2 home runs against Tarek Skubal in the same game in the playoffs. I mean, that impresses me enough. And also they got Luis Robert to play center field. They traded Luis Angel Acuna for him. Very high risk, high reward signing. As long as he's healthy, he'll be a huge upgrade to what we have in center field, which has basically been a black hole the last 3 or 4 years. Even if he gives you the same offense that he's given the last 2 years, which is actually jack shit, he's going to be a really good defender in center field. And at worst, he's just going to be
oh no!
Looks like we lost Todd.
Yeah, Storm knocked out Todd. Todd was making really good points. He's probably going to try and hop back on. I will confirm what Todd said. Semien did take the Golden Glove last year with the Rangers. I'll say this: Semien's bat's definitely on the downside of his career. You're probably not going to get. He's definitely there to play defense at this point. Anything you get from him offensively is more of a bonus than an asset, I feel like, at this point in his career. But you can't deny he's got a hell of a glove at second base.
Yeah, I feel like defensively across the infield, this is the most improved team in the NL East.
Yeah,
maybe in the entire NL defensively across the infield. Polanco, even though with the limited experience, I think you can probably platoon him and Vientos some. You have Bichette, you have Beatty playing wherever
Yeah.
he wants to play, basically. That Robert deal, I feel like, I do agree with Todd. It's a high risk, high reward, but I do think in a new environment where there's a chance to win, I think Robert might be a little bit better as far
Yeah.
as his numbers go. When there's such low expectations in the South Side, and there's not a whole lot of incentive to really push. Um, I think having the incentive to push and having a fresh opportunity, is going to be a huge thing for the Mets. They just feel like they got the most better across the board in this division.
Yeah.
To me,
they definitely improved. I know Alonso defensively replacing him is absolutely the right call, because he was never a good defender when he came up. Let's be real, and his range has only gone down, as he has aged. That they're improved. I don't know how much. Also, I don't like. I don't like the return on giving up Acuna. I really feel like they gave up on Acuna too quickly to immediately throw him in another trade, because he's not going to be as good as Ronald, but he's going to be. I think he's definitely going to be an above average player with all-star potential year in, year out. So I didn't love that deal, to be honest. So I'm messaging Todd to get his prediction for the Mets, since he didn't get a chance to give it before before he went down.
Yeah, I do think that I don't necessarily see it as giving up on Acuna. I feel like it was more of a we have a chance to improve in a spot that we need to improve in, as opposed to a giving up on Acuna. I think all the things that you mentioned are the reasons that Acuna has high value. I just think that they were trying to pounce on a position that they desperately need an improvement from, especially with Nimmo being traded.
That's fair too.
Yeah.
All right. So as soon as Todd gets me the prediction, I will announce that. Let's move it on to the Phillies. Last year's division champs at 96 and 66 is, again, it's a very down year across the division. They were definitely the recipients of it. They were eliminated in the NLDS for the second straight year, this time by the Dodgers 3-1. And to be honest, that series really wasn't close at all. It very easily could have been a sweep by the Dodgers. The Phillies did not look in it, to me. Jason was not very pleased at the Phillies' performance, as everybody who watched any of the postseason afterthought episodes of Jason will very much attest to. He was not pleased with the performance of the Phillies. He missed the prediction last year, though, by one. I got to give him that. 95 when they won 96. Props to Jason on that one. Todd just messaged in. Todd says for the Mets, 91. For the Phillies, he's going to put them at 89 for this year. He thinks they're getting older and they haven't really improved much. Big moves for re-signing Schwarber and Luzardo. So, hopping in on that Luzardo extension was a great move by the Phillies. Luzardo pitched out of his freaking mind last year and absolutely earned that extension. If the Phillies didn't extend him, I was going to say they were nuts letting him get that close to free agency, because they nailed that one 100%. They did lose Ranger Suarez, and the Phillies, they didn't do much. They were in on Bichette until the Mets stole him, and then after that, it's kind of like, yeah, okay, we're good with where we're at. That's that's really how I felt Dombrowski was looking at it at that point. Jason said running it back and hopefully work, but greater addition into the pen with Keller. Oh yeah, I forgot about the Keller deal. Bringing Schwarber back is massive for this team and absolutely needed. Real Muto back with a weak catcher free agent pool. Annoyed at the Bichette stuff, but well, Alvarado back. Wheeler hopefully back before the end of April. Have to see how he does, but signs are promising. I'm going to be honest with you, Jason. I'm going to be shocked if he's back before the end of April. I'm thinking mid-May to late May because the Phillies are not going to rush Wheeler. He's too valuable to rush. Rotation is deep, even with the loss of Ranger. Painter looked great in the spring. Hopefully, it translates to the regular season. Outfield has been upgraded with Garcia in, Casty out. Honestly, I don't think Garcia is that massive of an improvement. He really feels like plug and play, kind of, to be honest. Justin Crawford looked good. Hopefully it bodes well for regular season. I will say running it back, but is still a different looking team in some key areas. Sanchez and Luzardo on their new deals, looking for continued success, looking for bounce backs from Stott and Baum. We said it in all of our preview shows, until the two-time reigning champs, the division are dethroned. I can't go against them, although I fully expect Todd will have the Mets and Andrew will have the Braves winning the division. He was wrong about that. I don't have the Braves winning the division. Todd says he's also looking forward to facing Nola several times again after what they did last season. Hey, Todd's back. Hey, welcome, dude.
Hi. I'm just on my phone. So
yeah, no worries. Yeah, I get it. The storm is not very nice. My youngest upstairs is not loving this storm. I will be very honest. I loved what you said about the opportunity to face Nola several times after last year. That might be the one-liner of the night so far. So So you had said 89 for the Phillies. Any other thoughts on the Phillies?
I feel like you're cutting out again. I can't.
Okay.
Yeah, you're frozen. At least on my end.
Yeah, all good. Yeah, if your internet's messing around with you, I did relay what you had sent me in the post. So yeah, if you want to hop off, I understand. The storm's just doing what it's going to do tonight. I do appreciate you hopping on though, bud. We'll have you back.
I'm going to try to reload this again.
Okay. All right. So Joe, what are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I'm not 100% sure how they're going to do with losing Suarez. That is a bigger loss than I think we want it to be, or than Jason probably wants it to be. I do think, Painter, if he can, even do what he's been doing in the spring and just continue to replicate that, I think they'll be fine. I do think outside of the Rojas suspension, I feel like they're still kind of similar to how I felt about the Brewers last week, where it's like until you beat the champs, you can't be the champs. It just feels to me as if they're going to be the champs until someone can beat them, and I feel like I do think you're going to see better year from Alec Boehm. I do think that Bryce Stott will be okay. I do think you could see, you could see Aiden Miller come up and play a bunch if Stott doesn't perform. I think there's a little more pressure on that this year. I think Justin Crawford, will be an excellent addition for them. So I'm gonna say. And they do still have Kyle Schwarber, which is a huge deal. So to me, I'm going to temper a little bit from last year, but from my prediction last year. But I'm going to go with 99 wins and still win this division.
99, holy hell! Okay, let me. Come on. All right, Todd, is it better now?
Okay, you're moving now.
I'll take it.
Okay, so my Phillies predictions.
Yeah.
So they're still the reigning champions, and I think they're still the team that everyone is scared of the most. Just because you brought back Schwarber, you know Harper's still there. But as far as they didn't really improve that much. Like obviously they re-signed extended Luzardo, which was a really good move for them. They obviously got Schwarber back, which I feel like they needed to do. And it's funny the Mets actually put an offer in when they were negotiating with Alonso and all that. They were going to give him like 4 years, like 190 million or something like that. And I'm like, I don't know. He'd just be a DH. That's overpay for a DH, but whatever. But I mean, Father Time is undefeated. The Phillies are getting older. I don't know 100% sure, but I think they are the oldest team in the division.
I think that's safe.
Yeah. Harper is 30, going into his age 33 season. Trey Turner's, I think, 32. And Castellanos isn't there anymore. Schwarber's 30. They're all in the early to mid 30s. So really, this is kind of their last chance, I think, with everyone in their prime, so to speak. As far as their pitching goes, I think they still have the best rotation in the division. I mean, Christopher Sanchez is probably the most underrated pitcher, in my opinion, in the game. No one really talks about him, but he's just stupid disgusting. I mean, you have Luzardo, you have Wheeler still there. I mean, forget Ranger Suarez. That's a really good 1-2-3, So if the Phillies make the playoffs and, having those three guys ready to go in October, I mean, it's hard to bet against them. And I still think they have the capability of getting to the playoffs with what they have. But as far as compared to last year, I don't think they're any better. I would, and I that's why I say 89 wins. I mean, a lot of this is just, and none of this has to do with the fact that I hate the Phillies with every fiber of my being. I just don't really see the market improvements, and I don't see a lot of these players having better seasons than they did last year. Especially Schwarber. I can't see him having a better year than he did last year.
As far as Schwarber goes, until Schwarber starts to fall apart, I'm not, unfortunately, as much as I want to say he's going to fall apart, I'm not ready to call that happening this year. He's going to be what he always is. He's going to be a mid 200s bat or lower with a ton of strikeouts, but a shitload of home runs at the same time because he bats in one of the easiest ballparks in the National League to hit a home run out of, especially in the high summer when it's hot and humid.
Mm-hmm. Now, granted, a lot of his home runs would go out of, anywhere.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when Schwarber lumbers up, it's gone. That's all there is. And he is the best. He has been for the last 3 years been the June fantasy baseball MVP.
Mm-hmm.
In the month of June, he is the guy you want.
Yep,
so
that's it.
The one thing I'm still not I am still not super impressed with the outfield of the Phillies. I think that is the weakest link. I don't think the outfield's better. I really don't. I know, we knew the suspension was probably going to come down for Rojas. It was confirmed. All the appeals have been played out and are over. So the depth chart is right now Marsh and Kemp in left field and Schwarber if, too many guys get hurt, but God knows you don't want Schwarber in the outfield. Crawford primarily in center with Marsh backing him up, and then Garcia in right. I'm sorry, I don't think Garcia is a significant improvement over Castellanos. I don't think he is.
3 years ago, he would have been.
Right, but we're not there.
Right.
If Otto Kemp is ready to take over, they will be improved, but because Marsh can't play against lefties. He needs to be a platoon guy. And what sucks is Crawford is also a lefty. So you have a lefty heavy out. You have a left-hand heavy outfield that against lefty, that team is going to get chewed up by left-handed pitching. I didn't give my win prediction for the Phillies. I'm tempering it. I'm going to say 91. I think they're still going to win the division because they have to be knocked off. But I don't think this is a super improved Philadelphia team. I really don't. JT is a year older. His defense is not as good as it was. His pitch framing is still great. His defense is not as great. His bat has really fallen off just in the last 2 to 3 years from what it was. I'm not there with the Phillies. Harper's older. He's not what he was. And this probably realistically is their last opportunity to do the big things. Harper only hit 261 last year, guys.
And he was a 330 hitter in Washington.
Yeah. He's, the average has been trending downwards. He peaked in 2021 when he won MVP at 309, 286, 293, 285, 261. 261 is significantly below his career overall. It's hard for me to really love this Phillies team. Well, no, it's not at all. I hate this Phillies team.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely not. No.
But like making a prediction wise, there's so many questions with every team in this division. The Phillies probably will pull through because they've got the best pitching and they've got the most consistently healthy pitching of all of the teams in the division so far. Like if Atlanta actually manages to stay healthy, their pitching is going to beat Philadelphia's because I'm still going to take Chris Sale over everybody they have. But that there's no guarantee, as I mentioned earlier, that Atlanta will stay healthy. So that's where I'm at. So Jason, you're wrong. I did not predict the Braves to take over, although it's going to be close, and it's not. I don't think. I think there's going to be a lot of infighting in the division. I don't think one team's going to run away with it. Like maybe initially, last year, a la Mets last year, hot start, slow end. You might see a team do that. But I think the top 3 teams are going to be within 7 wins of each other. Joe, I can't get behind 99. I do not see 99 wins out of this Phillies team. Anything could happen, but I just don't see that, man.
Yeah, I think one of the things there's 2 things I think with the Garcia deal. One, it's hopefully a much better locker room than it was with Castellanos because there was a lot of drama there.
That's
so
fair.
I think that is going to factor into some of this quite a bit. I think offensively, when you look at Castellanos versus Garcia last year, it might be equal, but the culture is going to be better. So I think that's a bit of a boost for them. That's the big reason I think the outfield is better. That and I think Crawford is going to be better than Marsh is on a normal day in center field.
Their defense is still not great in the outfield. It's still not a great defense overall. Yeah. To be honest, here's the numbers last year. Just the heads up, the head-to-head between Garcia and Castellanos. Castellanos out hit him 137-115. Garcia's slight edge in home runs 19-17. RBIs 75-72. Stolen base 13-4. Average went to Castellanos 250-227. OBP 294-271. Slugging 400-394. OPS 694-665 to Castellanos. OPS plus did go to Garcia at 93-88. I don't see a huge improvement there, and they're both a year older. I just don't see it.
The only counter to that I feel like you can offer, and I'm going to offer this, is Globe Life Field is ginormous.
That's fair.
Whereas Citizens Bank isn't. So a lot of those non-hits for Garcia are either a double off the wall, or they're a home run, or one of those other things. So it's hard to compare those 2 hitters, considering they play in vastly different ballparks, at least for their 81 games out of the year. So there is some of that to consider, I think, too. Um, so I mean, it's yeah. I mean, could they be significantly worse? Sure. Could they be better? Who? I mean, we're just in a prediction game, like you said. So
Right.
it's we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have one question that like I'm not sure. Maybe you guys can answer, but I know Jason would be able to. It's really like, how is Zach Wheeler doing? Like, is his shoulder better?
Jason said they're saying potentially end of April. I think Jason's nuts and being very optimistic. I don't think the Phillies push it. I think it's going to be mid to late May.
Yeah. So, obviously we're talking about the rotation being the strong point. It still is, but I mean, not having Wheeler until May potentially, and after that, potentially not having like vintage Wheeler, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, it's true. We don't know what Wheeler's going to look like coming out. That's unfortunately very true for the Phillies.
Yeah, and I followed Noah Syndergaard and Matt Harvey. Those amazingly two other guys that came up with Wheeler with the Mets. Those things are can be killers. I mean, it killed Harvey's career and it killed Syndergaard's career, even though Syndergaard's trying to come back.
Yeah, anything you can get out of Thor at this point is a bonus.
Yeah, I think I'll just stick with his social media posts over his pitching.
I did just look at the Phillies MLB page about the injuries. They're saying April to May. He did throw live BP on my birthday on Saturday. It did go well. Blood clots are tricky. We've watched blood clots end careers across multiple sports, and you have to be really careful. So I don't think the Phillies are going to push him early. Kirkering should be back by opening day. They're saying Aiden Miller's put on minor league camp. They're just being cautious for the lower back injury. Nothing else really major for the Phillies injury. So knock on wood for the Phillies fans. They are healthy as they're probably going to be all year right now.
Oh, Kirkering's going to be back. You're just throwing that out there.
He'll be back opening day. That's what they're projecting.
Yeah. Just throwing it out there.
Yeah, unfortunately. So, looking at dark horses that we made last year, Jim said Phillies over the Rangers in the World Series. That was a complete bust. Joe, last year you had the Nationals making a playoff run or possibly running to second in the division, and the Cards winning the Central Division. Again, that was a complete bust. Jason had the Mets winning the division, the Rangers in the World Series, and the Diamondbacks winning the West. Jason went over 3 pretty badly as well. I had the Nationals being more than 5 games over 500. Yeah, that went well. Oof. In the AL East, I said the Rays are going to win the division and beat the Yankees in Steinbrenner Field. I think the Rays at least did win 1 game against the Yankees in Steinbrenner Field, so at least I got that part right. But yeah, the crazy dark horse predictions, we all did not do well in those last year. You know what, though? They're fun. So, Joe, what's a dark horse for you, bud?
I don't know, man. At any division, I guess.
Yeah, it can be anything. Doesn't have to be.
I'll go with. You know what? I don't know why you started with me. This is hard. I wasn't thinking about dark horse.
Didn't start with me either.
Yeah, no. Let's
I'm
see.
still thinking. That's why.
I know. I think the dark horse, and I'm not doing this because I'm a homer by any means. Because if you listen to the NL Central, I didn't think the Cubs were going to win their division, let alone anything else. So I'm gonna. You know what? I'm going to say that PCA is in the top 2 for the MVP. I'm not bold enough to say he's going to win it, but he'll be top 2.
I like it. Todd, what do you got?
I have a few, and I think all of them are kind of fun. Right. As far as the playoff position goes, I don't have anything crazy for the top 5, but I'm going to go very rogue for number 6. National League, the Pittsburgh Pirates.
Ooh, wild card 3 to the Pirates.
And in the American League, the Sacramento A's. Big Amish, baby. Let's go.
I would not be upset to see him go off and have an insane year. I would not. I love watching him.
Although, I wanted to see this last year, but I want to see it this year. I want to see the ALCS be Tampa Bay versus Sacramento, meaning that the World Series is guaranteed to be played in a minor league ballpark. I want to see it.
What is the status on Tropicana? Is it going to be ready at all, or is it still a wreck? I forgot to look that up.
I think they're gonna probably get out of that field in 27, assuming we play.
Yeah, there's that.
I mean, I think this will be the last year at Steinbrenner Field. Let's see.
I hate to tell you this, dude. Google search does say the Tropicana repairs will be done for opening day. Most repairs are done.
This year.
Yeah.
Wow.
Right, I'm on the A's bandwagon now.
You know, nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong.
No. They're fun.
I wouldn't get that. That's a team that I have a hard time picking one way or the other because they absolutely could surprise.
Yeah, they're like the Nationals, really. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my dark horse, and the power brokers at MLB are going to hate this. And as a part owner of the Braves, I hope it's 100% true. Shohei Ohtani will not win the damn MVP despite being an insane hitter and starting pitcher this year because I'm fucking tired of it. No Ohtani at MVP.
That's part of my other dark horse thing.
All right.
It's fun for me because I believe Ohtani will not win the NL MVP because it's going to be Mr. Juan Soto who's going to win the MVP this year.
Is Juan Soto going to learn how to field this year finally?
Who cares?
Exactly.
He's 20. We didn't pay him. They didn't pay him the field. If he can just be an average fielder, that would be like, oh yes, for me. I mean, he's going to be a DH within 3 or 4 years. He's going to be. He's moving to left, which is his more natural outfield position, and it's easier to play left field in at Citi Field than it is in right field is.
That's fair because the blooper reel of him playing right field at Yankee Stadium was hilarious.
Yeah, and it's so easy to play right field in Yankee Stadium compared to any other stadium. There's nowhere to go. It's like you're standing in the infield, and then all of a sudden you're at the wall.
It's so true.
You know, I mean, compared to, I would say he did a better job playing outfield last year than he did with the Yankees. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to go balls out with him because he's 27 years old. He is in his prime. He's now got a year as a Met under his belt, 2 years in New York. He's comfortable here. He's going to hit 54 home runs. He's going to hit 125 RBIs. He's going to have a WRC plus of like 188. And he's gonna walk his usual inhuman number of times. And with the addition of the automated balls and strikes, I just think his walk total is going to go up.
That's probably true. Yeah, that I do agree with.
Mm-hmm.
I will make a not dark horse prediction because I think it's almost a shoe-in. Acuna is going to win his second Comeback of the Year award because nobody
would not surprise me
last year. So
I mean, when you're as hurt as he is, yeah, I mean, you get many opportunities.
I know, right?
There are 5 or 6 Braves that could legitimately win that award.
That's true. He might not get it because everybody else is
because he finished 4th because he finished 4th in Comeback Player of the Year because the other 3 were Braves. It's a whole Michael Harris thing all over again.
Yeah, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. All right,
and
guys.
Yeah, my last dark horse, I have Seattle finally winning a pennant.
I wouldn't be upset by that.
I'm gonna make 2 dark horse division picks since my other one wasn't really all that fun. I'm gonna pick the Orioles to win the East as a dark horse, and I'm gonna pick the Giants to win the NL West. Just for fun.
Really?
Why not?
Yeah. I'm going to have the Rockies winning more than 55 games this year. There's my other dark horse.
That would be
over under the number of games that Chris Bryant is going to play. I'm going to set it at 32.
Under.
For the rest of his contract or this year?
This year.
This year? Oh, it's under.
Yeah.
I almost said it. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get any games.
Yeah, really. That's sad, man.
I'm not relishing in it by any means, but it just feels awful. I mean, to see what has happened with him is just crazy.
What was it? Is it spinal stenosis?
It's a degenerative disc disease, so it's just like he's in
pretty close
pain from the
same
minute
idea.
He gets up every day. Yeah,
that's just a damn shame. There's just too many players that were destined for Hall of Fame careers that cut down by just bad bodies. David Wright, obviously for us.
That's David Wright.
Chris Bryant. I mean, not so much Chris Sale. I think he's still on track to do that. He's been healthy enough.
Because no pitcher's ever going to hit 300 wins again. So
no,
where Sale's at probably will be good enough.
I think so.
Which is crazy to think about with, what is he's at? Maybe not. He is only at 145. If he gets 2 solid years and gets close to 200, I could see it.
One more fun dark horse. Justin Verlander wins 10 games with the Tigers this year.
All right.
Why not? It's fun.
Why not? All right, guys. Well, that's our East preview for the year. Opening day is coming up, and the regular grind will start shortly. Audio will be available on Anchor, Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. Live on YouTube and Facebook. Merchandise is at redbubble.com. Follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/dollardogsandbeer. We're presented by Dark Arrow Podcast LLC and sponsored by Baron Barbershop over in Manheim. May your dogs always cost $1. May your beer always be cold. We'll see you after opening day.